I didn't. My mom, I've always been a collector from very, very young age. And my mom came into my room one day. I was only, I don't know, in my teens, I guess. She said, "Man, you really should open your own store." Anyways, that just started the whole snowball effect. So I did. I went down the avenues and found suppliers and found a spot and started with my own collection. So everything that I had in my room, I put into this shop, and that's how I started. I started with 2 comic boxes, 5 Funko Pops, and a couple of board games. That was it.
Selling your own collection?
Selling my own collection, yep.
Now, usually when some of us get a little older, we buy back our collections.
I'll never get it back. I'll never get it back.
Get the same, you probably won't get the same items, but you'll get similar items back.
Yes.
Have you gotten any of them back?
I have. Battlestar Galactica being number 1.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Now, which Battlestar are we talking about? The original one in the 77s?
No, the remake.
Oh, the remake?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's my go-to.
Do we like the original?
You know what? I've never seen it. I always fell in love with the second one.
With the second
one? Yeah,
one.
with the redo.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I find a lot of people are like that. They'll either prefer, if a show is being remade, they'll either prefer one over the other one.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, in your collection that you sold off, when you came here to the store, was it mostly you wanted to get into like action figures and collectibles, or did you want to start off mostly comics?
You know, I didn't have a comic background.
Okay.
When I collected comics because of the covers, I enjoyed the art, I enjoyed the writing, but I did not know anything about comics. So everything that you see here now all around, I learned in this 5 years. Everybody teaching me, okay, this is a good book, this one has a better writer, and we went from there, and it just grew and grew, and my knowledge, and I'm still learning. Yeah, still learn, and you'll never know it all.
You'll never know it all because there's that many topics and that many genres out there.
Yep.
Because you've got like Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, a little bit of everything. And so right now, what's popular right now?
So Pokemon is always popular. During the pandemic, it went through a massive surge. So Pokemon was always here, but when the pandemic hit and everybody got shut down, it went to here because everybody was looking for a hobby to do, and Pokemon was the hobby, right? And so was comics. Yep. So people were stuck home. They wanted new stories. They wanted a new life to escape to, let's say, and then it went from there.
Did with the pandemic now, how did that affect your store?
Not as negative as some businesses, thank goodness, because this store and many like it had the to-do things, right? Yes. So people were looking for puzzles and comic books and trade paperbacks and model kits. Yep. Yeah.
So you just adapted your business to serve like, what was it called? Curbside? Is that
Curbside,
Curbside,
yeah. We all did it. We all had to adapt because if you don't adapt, you'll be left behind.
Oh, goodness.
Right?
Yes.
So we adapted, and here we are 5 years later.
Now, how do you find the 5th year with products compared to the first year? Like for the items that you sell now compared to what you used to sell in your first year?
It's very similar. There's way more comic readers out there now than in the first year because I was just getting up and running in the first year. And nobody really knew me as a comic book shop. They knew me as a hobby shop, right? But now I'm offering the comics. We do comic claim sales every Wednesday, which is Facebook Live. So every Wednesday at 8 p.m. we'll do a Facebook Live and we'll auction off comics. So yeah, so it's different collections coming in, it's new comics coming off the wall, it's back issue books. So it's a lot of fun.
So how do people find out about that?
You can go to the Facebook page, like and follow the page, and you'll get notified when we're live.
Okay.
Yeah. So you go in on the chat and then ask for a book, and we'll show it, or we got a big old stack lined up, and
All right, so back in year 1, so we're going to move into year 2.
Okay.
What was big about year 2?
Year 2.
I'm going to put you right on the spot now.
Yes.
Picking every year.
Year 2, Thomas started coming here, which is my shop dog, we'll call him.
Okay.
So year 2, he started coming here, and people really liked the idea of a comic book shop with a shop dog. Right. So people would come in, they would just come in to see Thomas, and then as they came in to see Thomas, they'd take their friend, they'd take their other friend, right? Yep. And it grew. Yep. It helped to grow the business. He did a fantastic job.
He's almost like your mascot.
He is the mascot. He is my coworker.
Yeah. Now, Thomas got his own comic books.
He does.
How many are there, and what can you tell us about the books?
So moving into year 3,
Okay.
that's when Thomas became a big sensational hit.
Celebrity.
Yes.
Okay.
So Bryson, he was 11 years old at the time. He wrote the comic book about Thomas because he thought that we were sad that we were shut down during the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he wrote all of these comic books, and we had him here for a signing. He made it to CBC Kids, he made it to Toronto Kids, he made it to New York. He went, he raised almost $1,600 to Rescue NL with these comic books, selling them at the shop.
And the shop.
Yeah.
And
He's got 5 comic books out now.
Yeah.
And the latest one is called Manitoba Mayhem, and it actually introduces the second dog that we got from Rescue NL. So Thomas had to go rescue her.
Thomas had to go rescue her.
Yeah.
So all the proceeds from Thomas's comic books. I'm looking down because Thomas is on the floor.
Yeah.
So all the proceeds for his comic books, they all go to Rescue NL.
They do, all the profits from. So the bill gets taken care of first, and then all the profits from there go directly to Rescue NL. So we just had 5-year anniversary. We printed more Super Thomas comics, and we sold another almost $200 for Rescue NL. So that'll go directly to them.
So the young person that made the comic, tell us a real quick little bit about him.
So he was 11 at the time. He's still coming here to this day. He's still writing comic books.
So he was one of your customers?
He was. So he was a young fella. He was going to music lessons in this building, and he just happened by here one day and really enjoyed the stuff. He's into the Marvel, he's into the DC, he's a big reader, and he also draws himself. So it all just worked out for him. So it became an outlet for him, right? So it got this creative bone going. It was very good for him.
And this was all started during the pandemic?
It did, yep. Just before, I'd say, about a year before he started coming here, and he got to know us and Thomas, and then he grew from there.
Now you mentioned DC and Marvel, so we're in the year 4 now. What happened in the store in year 4? Any big events or anything memorable? So
year 4, every year we've got 3 events. So we've got the anniversary event, which always happens in February, which is always dicey because of the weather. This one was a little bit more dicey than normal, but it all worked out.
Good.
The second one is Free Comic Book Day, which is the first Saturday in May. So we'll have characters, cosplays here. We'll have artists, all of that stuff. Yes.
What is Free Comic Book Day, just in case there's somebody that doesn't know what Free Comic Book Day is?
So Free Comic Book Day was designed to help comic book shops increase their business. So what it is we purchase these comic books at a low rate, and we give them away to patrons that come in. Some comic book stores will do 3 per person, 5, 8, however many you got. Right? Yeah. So you come in, it's first Saturday in May, get some cake, because there's always cake.
Cake's always good.
Yeah, cake and comics.
Can't beat that.
Nope.
So are these like mainstream comics? Would that be like Batman, Superman, Star Wars, stuff like that? Or?
Every one of them. Marvel, and then you've got the the Spider-Man and Venom and all of those guys,
so
right?
it is like a mainstream comic, just like a condensed version.
Yeah, and what they do is they put these little banners across the top, and I never knew this when I first opened, but like there's a green banner for all ages. There's a red banner for restricted. There's a yellow banner for teen and up, right? Yeah. So I always print that above the comics so the parents know that, this is not suitable or is suitable for the kids.
When did that come about?
Apparently it's always been a thing, and I only just found out about it, I'd say 3 years ago.
I found out today.
Today years old.
Today years old. So it's almost like it's a grading, like if you watch a movie for PG, restricted, stuff like that.
Right.
They grade the comics like that.
They do. So they let the readers know that this is not suitable for 5 and under. Right? There might be violence in it or anything like that. Yep.
So if mom and dad comes in and they got a real young kid, boy or girl, they want to get into comics, you can suggest which ones depending on the grading of the comics.
Right. Point them in the right direction.
Well, that's neat.
Yeah. So it's safe for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want them seeing stuff that they're not supposed to see yet.
That's right. Yeah. And then in October, which is the third event, normally they do an Oktoberfest is what it's called, and it's kind of like a Free Comic Book Day. But it's all Halloween-based comics. Now, they haven't done it last year. I'm hoping they're going to do it this year. If they do, excellent. If they don't, we always have an event here on the 31st or around the 31st.
Now, is this the comic book publishers again, or the comic book stores themselves that does this?
The stores.
The store.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's on usually around like a Halloween event.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have cosplayers here. There's a pile of cosplayers here on the island now. So I always get a handful of those guys to come in. They get pictures taken with the kids, and
Sure.
it's a very family-friendly event.
Kids or the adults?
Both. Both.
Okay, so what's the other event that you do?
Well, that was the hero or the Free Comic Book Day for October, right?
Okay,
Comic Fest. Yeah.
Yep. Now, your 50-year anniversary, so we're up to the 5th year.
We're up to 5 years.
What's going on in year 5, and what events have you, what was your big event, your anniversary like?
So, we introduced a new thing this year for the anniversary. It happened on February 4th. You can go back through all the pictures on Facebook and, you know, stuff like that. And I called it HeroCon. So, this was HeroCon number 1. And we're going to grow this. This was a trial, and it went really well. So we're going to try and get more guests. We're going to try and get more cosplayers. We're going to try and get more filmmakers here, and just like little booths to introduce and to build this community, right? It's not about the making money. It's about to build everybody up in the community, right?
Exactly. Support everyone.
Support all of the arts, right? And so that happened February 4th, and hopefully HeroCon number 2 is a go for next February. And we had comic book artists here, Bryson Crowley, he made the Super Thomas comics. We had James Babineau. He did Lost Gardens. He's a published artist here. And we had Mike Fian, which is also a published artist.
I can't wait to see what he's got coming
Isn't
out.
that awesome?
He's got a Star Trek comic coming out.
He does. Yep. And we also do comic pull lists, and I call them stash boxes. So if you enjoy a comic series, you'll be like, hey man, can you pull this comic going forward? And what that means is if it comes out every week, 2 weeks, semi-monthly, monthly, I will put that away for you. And then you come in and just pick it up.
Pick them up.
Yeah, so you don't miss that issue, right?
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, Amanda, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Darren.
And thanks for letting us know all about Heroes and Hobbies.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this. And welcome back. I'd like to welcome to the show Sasha P., owner of Culturisto.
Yes.
I got it right?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what Culturisto is and where the name came from.
Well, my name is Sasha Persaud. I am the owner, jewelry maker, operator, everything for Culturisto Alternative Shop. So essentially what we are, we make a bunch of, we primarily do jewelry, but we also, we're starting to expand into novelties like pins, buttons, bookmarks, even some clothing coming out later this year. And we used the word alternative while it's, you know, just because when you go on Google, when you look at the darker aesthetic, when you're looking at groups and subcultures like goth, punk, Wiccan, witchy, like that type of aesthetic, people tend to just Google alternative. So it's not so much alternative anymore. It's like way more socially acceptable. So, but that's why we just use the term alternative, just because it's a little bit more, it's more accessible for people to find us. And yeah, like it was something that I started about 5 years ago. I was making my own chokers, and I went to a metal concert here, and one of the girls in the bathroom said, "I love your choker," and I'm like, I should do something about that. And and I started selling some at the flea market in CLB, and it kind of just took off from there.
Wow. So how long has your business been going?
So it's going to be 5 years in October.
5 years?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Now, you mentioned the CLB Armory. We know that as a local market.
Yep.
What other events do you bring your business to?
So I primarily at anything geek, anything sci-fi, anything alternative oddity. So I'm at all the major conventions like Sci-Fi on the Rock, Avalon Expo, Ren Fair. Yep, and all of the oddity markets that are at the St. John's Farmers Market from Needful Things. And it's just anyone that's looking for something a little bit different, something to complement their cosplay outfits, just, you know, people who are just attracted to something that's a little bit darker, a little bit more goth, vampiric, whatever suits, floats your boat, basically. Yeah. That's what we do.
Now, I got to talk about the headdress today. Tell us all about that.
So funny enough, like my first market at the CLB was in spooky season. It was early October.
Right.
So I was just already dressing for Halloween, and I found these. I actually found these in a thrift store, and I loved them, and they fit perfectly, and it blended nicely with my hair, and everyone. And since then, throughout that month, when I was at CLB every Sunday, I always wore the horns, and everyone just kind of remembered me as the person with the horns, that's literally like. For almost 5 years now, I'm wearing them at major conventions, and sometimes I have a big rounded black hat, so people know me for that too. Yeah. But it's just something that people always remember, like, oh, it's the girl with the horns, or oh, it's the witch in the corner with the horns. Like that's how people remember. Yeah, I mean, some of our vendor buddies said that, and I'm like, I love that. I'm gonna own it. So you know, and it's just kind of. Been part of me since then, and there's just a whole bunch of other aspects. Like I've always loved the mythologies with the fauns, with half man, half goat. I love that demigod a lot. And funny enough, recently I started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and my character's a tiefling. Oh, okay. so, and I said very much fitting. So,
if someone don't know what that character is, just explain it.
Yeah. The tiefling?
Yeah.
Oh, the tiefling is it's a half demon in Dungeons and Dragons. Sometimes often associated with like demonic powers and everything. But the game that we're playing, we're actually good guys. So I'm like a misunderstood tiefling that people think I'm up to no good, but I'm really just trying to no, I'm a normal person thing. I'm really awkward, but Yeah. I'm trying to be good.
You're trying to be good.
Yep.
Actually, when you came in today, I said, she looks different. Why is she different? And then when you said, can I put the horns on? I was like, oh, that's why she looks different.
Yep.
So every time I see you at an event, you got the horns on.
I went to a market once, and I was wearing my work clothes because I was coming straight from work. And I didn't have like my whole on like ensemble, and they're like, you look so normal and it's weird. I'm like, and I was like, trust me, I love wearing jewelry in general. Like when I'm outside of work and just dressing up and wearing a lot of like graphic tees. Even my pajamas all have like characters and stuff on it. But when you're working and you got to be a little bit more professional, you just gotta just tone it down a bit and be more about the business, not whatever, which is fine with me too. Like we all got different personalities and things.
That's right.
So on the go, but it's just funny that people are like, what's wrong with you? Something's weird,
You're looking normal.
Yeah. I love it though. It makes me laugh. Yep.
Now speaking about your jewelry, so you got an idea for it. Where do you get an idea for a piece? So if you've got something, what's your inspiration for a piece?
Oh, there's so many. I think most of my stuff, since I was a kid, like I've been obsessed with anything Tim Burton. I loved Nightmare Before Christmas. It is one of my favorite movies. And then anything like kind of like along that genre. As I got older, I loved Harry Potter. I loved Supernatural. I loved and all these I guess supernatural and like witchy and like all these types of shows and movies. But a lot of my inspiration came from music as well. So like I was a big metalhead in high school. Okay. And I also I loved the punk aesthetic in high school as well. Just like I love like the being rough around the edges, like lots of chains, lots of drapery, and then again, as I got older, I would love the Victorian look. I love the big skirts. I love the bold jewelry, the big chokers. And then my background, like my family's Indo-Guyanese, so we're Indian Guyanese, so similar to Newfoundlanders being like Irish descent, we're Indian descent. Okay. And a lot of our traditional wear, we wear a lot of heavy earrings, a lot of headpieces, and I got a lot of influence from that. So I'm just like, let me take like Bollywood and like put it in the upside down, like similar to like Stranger Things. Yes. And that was kind of like what I'm doing right now. Okay. Because everyone knows like Bollywood being so vibrant, so colorful, but take that, but put it in like a darker tone and like with more spikes and stuff. Like that's what I'm doing right now. So
almost like a punk version.
Basically, yep. Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So the stuff you're wearing here today now, is this all your creations?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I got so this one's just like a Victorian style skull cameo choker. I think I got the girl one, the lady skull.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
And then this one's almost like a rosary style, but it has a vampiric ankh on it and a pentagram, so it's more like a pagan I don't want to say rosary, I'll say beaded necklace, but yeah. But and then these ones were actually something I made for my cousin's wedding. So
wow.
So I went to a Hindu Guyanese wedding, and this year I was like, or last year I should say, I'm finally going to create something that's like both like traditional but like more my style. So I had these big like kind of like Indian style earrings with the beaded, but then I added like a sword on it, and family loved it.
Yeah.
And I also had like some headpieces and stuff to match it as well, and I wore a lace black sari. With like blush coming through, so it was a really cool fusion of like two parts of who I am.
Two parts of your culture.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now, just going back to your business a little bit.
Yeah.
And you touched on the events.
Yeah.
What type of items do you have, and do you have certain items for different events?
Yeah. So it was I like the things I primarily do. So it would be like chokers, earrings, bracelets, keychains. A lot of which. When I started going to more of like the sci-fi conventions, a lot of people like the items for their cosplay pieces.
Okay.
So I started making things a little bit more just to complement that a little bit more, have more symbols, or like a lot more swords, a lot more pirates, a lot more even pentagrams, for example, even though it's like a ancient, it's like an ancient symbol, but it's very popular in Supernatural.
Yeah.
Lock and Key was a big popular show a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So like I used a lot of skeleton keys. So it's interesting that a lot of these like old ancient and like mythology-based symbols are like coming back and they're popular in a lot of shows. That's probably why I'm attracted to a lot of the those types of shows. So that's kind of I just cater to each market basically, but more or less I stay around this color.
Do you, speaking of the symbols,
Yeah.
do you find a lot of people know what the symbols are, or they just it's like, oh, I seen this symbol on this show.
Yeah.
I want a necklace with that symbol on it.
It's a combination of both, and I'll be honest too. Like there was parts of me when I was younger, I didn't really know the significance of certain symbols,
Yeah.
and I liked it because it was on the show. But when I kind of started reading more about it, and it's amazing that when you like something as a kid or even as a teenager, but when you go on in life, you kind of like understand like the depths of it, and it's the same thing with music. Like I loved System of a Down when I was a kid. I just loved how rebellious it was. But then when I got older, I realized how political the music was.
Yes.
And then I also and then I got even more older, and I realized all the cultural influences from the band was in it. And it was the same thing with a lot of the symbols that I use. And so I would get 12-year-olds coming here and coming to my table, I want this for my cosplay. And then I get 50-year-olds, it's like, that symbol means so much to me. It's a protection symbol. I want that. I love the aesthetic you do.
Oh, nice.
And so it's really fascinating to see what people like and what they're drawn to and for what reason.
You mentioned like a younger person and an older person.
Yeah.
What is your clientele?
I'd say I would say between 25 to 40, I would say. That's kind of like my age range too.
Sure.
And but at the same time, like I've had a lot of like 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds that would pick out some of the things for me, and I've even customized and made it smaller for their ears and tightened up necklaces. But I've also gotten I've even gotten people who were 70 years old who were actually practicing witches, and they liked the symbols, they liked the aesthetic, and sometimes they asked me for things for custom work, and I did it. And so it's really fascinating who comes to your table, and again, like the stories or like the recommendations they give you, and
Sure.
yeah.
So now, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, how can they find you?
Yep, so I have Facebook and Instagram at Culturisto. I'm getting a website, and I'm praying that's going to be launched by the end of this year. So that's going to be culturisto.com. And I'm at a lot of different markets. I post it regularly on my social media pages.
Okay.
And I think and yeah, majority of the sci-fi markets or oddity markets, I most likely will be there. But yeah, you can find me on social media pretty easily.
Yeah. Now, if somebody wanted like a special piece, do you have samples? Like if somebody because a lot of people now only shop online.
Yeah.
If they go on your Facebook page or your Instagram or social media, do you have samples up of what's there? Or how can you see some of the stuff that you have?
Yep, I do post regularly of all the new things I have, or just or things based on fun holidays that are coming up, or so I have things consistently, and anytime anyone messages me, a lot of times they know what they're looking for. They're looking for a certain symbol or a style or an animal or, you know, for example, like dragons is like a big thing that people are looking for. So people have messaged me about that, and I'm like, why don't I have dragons? I need to have dragons. So like, you know, that's kind of like what I do. So feel free to message me anytime about anything you're looking for, and I can make it work.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Sasha, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll be right back. I want to thank Amanda and Sasha for being on today's show. And make sure you come down to Heroes and Hobbies. They got a lot of great stuff here, especially the Super Thomas comic book. All proceeds go to Rescue NL. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Catch us again next time on Pocket Universe.
If you have a comment about this program